And so I would like to start by congratulating President-elect Trump on his impressive victory this morning. The Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary met him in September.
Kemi Badenoch, the opposition leader, was not shy of tearing into the government when Trump's victory left them scrambling. With Foreign Minister and Prime Minister allegedly making derogatory remarks about Trump, she had them cornered, and she made sure everyone knew it.
Did the Foreign Secretary take that opportunity to apologize for making derogatory and scatological references, including, and I quote, "Trump is not only a woman-hating, neo-Nazi sympathizing sociopath, he is also a profound threat to the international order." And if he did not apologize, will the Prime Minister do so now on his behalf?
After President-elect Trump's historic win in the recent American elections, you could see it all over the Foreign Minister's face. He knew his government was about to jump straight into hot water.
But there will be issues that do unite this House on national security and Ukraine, and I do look forward to working closely with her on that, and I will provide her with the information that she needs to discharge her duties. That's the right thing for the country, and it's far more important than party politics. And the Foreign Secretary and I did meet President-elect Trump just a few weeks ago for dinner for about a couple of hours, and we discussed a number of issues of global significance. It was a very constructive exercise.
The Prime Minister stepped in to defend his minister, admitting to meeting Trump, but the opposition leader seized on it, tearing the government's narrative to shreds.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister did not distance himself from the remarks made by the Foreign Secretary, and I'm very sure that President Trump will soon be calling to thank him for sending all of those North London Labour activists to campaign for his opponent. Given that most of his cabinet signed a motion to ban President Trump from addressing Parliament.
She saw through the Prime Minister's diversion, skillfully dragging the spotlight back to the topic. The tension soared, and the Prime Minister's unease was impossible to miss.
To extend an invitation to President Trump to address Parliament on his next visit.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is giving a masterclass on student politics. But seriously, Mr. Speaker, we live in probably a more volatile world than we've lived in for many decades. It is absolutely crucial that we have a strong relationship, that strong special relationship forged in difficult circumstances between the US and the UK.
Before the explanation could even finish, she delivered a masterstroke, challenging the Prime Minister to invite Trump. His forced chuckles couldn't hide the frustration, knowing full well he was in hot water, and she wasn't about to let up.
Will the Deputy Prime Minister join me in applauding the brave Labour staff members who've travelled across the Atlantic to campaign against Donald Trump?
Mr. Speaker, I'm loving this loving. I don't often get it. But I say to the honourable gentleman is that people in their own time often go and campaign, and that's what we've seen. It happens in all political parties.
The Prime Minister shot himself in the foot by backing Kamala Harris against Trump, even sending Labour staff to campaign for her.
What's emerged is that Donald Trump's team has filed a complaint in the US accusing the Labour Party of interference in the US election campaign. That's because a number of volunteers, Labour Party activists, have gone over to volunteer for the Kamala Harris campaign.
But it quickly backfired when Trump's team served him a legal notice. And a couple of weeks later, we now have Trump in the office.
Mr. Speaker, he does not answer the questions, just read the lines the officials have prepared for him. It doesn't sound like he wants to invite President-elect Trump to Parliament. He needs to look after the special relationship. The US is our single biggest trade partner. Given the risk of increased tariffs on UK exports, which threaten our manufacturing sector, will the Prime Minister commit now to continue the negotiations on our free trade agreement with the US, which the Biden administration cancelled when they came into office?
The Prime Minister realized his diplomatic blunder, but Kemi Badenoch wasn't letting it slide. She quickly hammered home the consequences his actions could have on the country.
Mr. Speaker, of course we will discuss issues of our economy with the President-elect, as we already have done. Economy security and global conflict are issues of real significance that ought to unite this House. But when it comes to the economy, what we've done with our budget is to fix the foundations after 14 years. Return to economic stability of the £23 million black hole. We've protected the pay slips of working people.
Starmer had no answers to the barrage of questions. As Badenoch pressed hard on the trade impacts, he began to fumble.
Mr. Speaker, discuss, chat. He has no plans whatsoever. No plans whatsoever for building on the special relationship. He needs to realize that we in this country rely on our single biggest trade partner. President Trump is also right to argue that Europe needs to increase its defense spending. The last Conservative government committed to raising defense spending to 2.5% by 2030. Will the Prime Minister finally match this commitment?
Spotting Starmer's lack of prep, Badenoch fired off more biting questions. The tension shot up, with the House roaring from both sides. Starmer was running out of options.
We have a strategic defence review. We are committed to 2.5%. Well, I would remind the last time 2.5 was met was under the last Labour government. 14 years, and they never did it once. Last year, the NAO identified a £17 billion black hole in the MOD finances. The former Defence Secretary said the previous government hollowed out the armed forces, and the plan they put forward at the election was pure fantasy.
To deflect from his Trump remarks, Starmer lashed out, accusing Conservatives of failing and praising Labour for caring more about the people. But the Trump question still loomed large.
Mr. Speaker, he will not make that commitment. That is very clear. All that he is doing,
I'm going to hear the questions. If the people who don't want to hear it, they can leave now.
The Chancellor's budget last week was a copy and paste of Bidenomics. It turns out that a high spending, high borrowing, high inflation approach is less popular than she may have thought.
The Labour Party realized this lady wasn't backing down, and with more questions to ask, they started shouting at her. But it was no use. She was ready to tear the government apart.
Hold on. I will hear the question.
Thank you. But within a couple of days, we'd learned of a third assassination attempt. Charges have been laid, and behind it are Iran's Revolutionary Guards. Has the time not come, Prime Minister, to prescribe what is so obviously a terrorist organisation?
Badenoch wasn't the only one raising concerns over racial comments. Nigel Farage echoed them, only for Starmer to mock him in response. Starmer's pro-Kamala stance and clear dislike for Trump are no secret. But with Trump back in office, how will he manage relations with the UK's leading trade partner? Let us know in the comments.